Good morning. Good morning. Excuse me. Let me post a topic here. There we go. So we're going to do today, we're going to take a look at some of the meshes for like the brick and stone and refine them a bit. And also want to thank Reploid X for the music collab. Today we've got this really nice like mix of tunes from Star Ocean 30th anniversary. It's really good, nice relaxing stuff. Well, let's dive in and see what we're looking at. Double check my mouse here, make sure everything's good. Alright, so yeah, what I'm thinking of here is, let's see. Yep. This wall and this one here. We're gonna make some like different depths and some kind of like a bit of like rock geometry or stone geometry so that it looks not so flat. Looks a bit more like something you would see for real. So let's get into that. Flat. Looks a bit more like something you would see for real. Just adjusting the volume here a bit. More like something you would see for real. Okay, so I'm gonna hide. Well, that's actually a good thing to look at. Just adjusting the volume here a bit. So I'm not gonna make any of them come out that far, like where it would bump into that. These will be like minor. I'm not going to make any of them come out that far, like where it would bump into that. These will be like minor. Alright, so let's take a look. So I was thinking about this a little bit before. Since these are like arched at specific curve points, so I was thinking about, these are going to be more like they're the individual stones like this, and there'll be different ones on other parts of the tower to kind of mix it up a bit. But I thought of like maybe doing them where they were kind of like where you see them almost like stair step wise, but with the way that the geometry bends, that wouldn't make too much sense. So it's going to be more like they are stacked like this. And take a look at... We can do this one first. So one thing I got to keep in mind is if I move one out here, I might want to make it come indented on the other side. Don't have to, since, you know, when you think about bricks or rocks kind of put together to make, you know, like a old kind of castle or something like that, they're not always perfectly even. There's a little bit of difference in like the sizes and the scales. You know, they're not all like perfectly cut like they were cut with a laser. So we kind of want to keep that in mind too. So I'm going to start with that. I'm going to start with, say, I'm going to grab a few random ones here. Try to keep it looking, you know, a little bit so it's not uniform. Show a little bit of difference with it. But I don't actually want two of them that are going to bump into each other because that can create a bit of an issue sometimes. So, well, I mean, I guess I could for some of them. Excuse me. Sorry. Sneezed. Wow. So that one there. And, you know, I don't have to do them everywhere. Just a few, like that. If I wanted to, for some of these, if I go around, if, you know, I like to make it visible if I go around the backside. Well, I can do that. I can do that secondary. So I'm thinking I might actually make, say, 2 variations. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to go extrude. And it's going to be a small amount. Right now that's at 5. And that seems good. I like that. Okay, so I'm going to... Those at 5. And on the inside, I'm going to take a couple of those, not necessarily all of them. Just a couple of them. And if they're going out that way, I want them to go, say, in. And I'll do a -5. So they're like that. Excuse me. And then I'm also going to go, and I'm going to hide this other wall here. Hold on. I'm going to take a look at this. Okay, and there's a few things I want to tweak there. So I'm going to probably hide a few other things too, like this, since they come in there. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. Delete that. Oops, not that one. Take off the back facing. Delete that one. Delete that one. And this one. Yeah. So then I'm going to reconnect these. Because at that point, by extruding them in either direction, it created on the edges of the ones where there was, say, no other block. It creates like an overlap, which would look really bad if after like you went to texture it. I talked about this before in one of the previous ones. Those points of the geometry on the faces where it ends up turning black facing, say where your camera is or the player, from like the player view, you can end up with, you know, you say you had beautiful stone texturing. This this part would come up with no texture on it. and it would look bad. So we don't want that. So we'll go in and we will take those out and then replace them with new geometry. We'll have to do a few other things also. Like we see here where it kind of comes out. We're going to fix that too. We want to make sure all these vertices are connected. But actually, you know, I might be able to tweak that if I double back. Let's do this. That was actually something I wasn't paying that much attention to. So this would actually be a good point to also make here. So we have this, we're doubling back to that other point. There's different extrusion options. Like if we look here on the top view, let's see, let's find a good example of it. Okay, yeah, there's a good example. We can see that it's not bowing it out, excuse me, or in line with the main piece geometry. It's doing it at a different angle, but we can change that too. So what we'll do is this. We will, oops, we'll take a look at here. We're not going to have back facing though. We'll select parent and then move this along that arc so that it stays in line with this, so we don't get a bunch of different weird angles. Excuse me, sorry about my throat today, a little bit hoarse. And we'll do the same there. And we'll look around for other ones we did. Okay, so we have one here. And we'll do the same thing. That looks pretty okay. Oh, we have one more, I think. It's in the middle. Ah, yeah. Good. Yeah, that looks good. All right, now I'll do the other thing I had said I would do there. I'm going to get rid of these and these. Excuse me. So let me take a sip of something. Okay, yeah. Now when I connect these, that should go a lot better. Yeah, much better. And I'll do the same. Bridge. And I'm really going to need to look around the whole of the pieces there so I don't miss anything, because that can easily happen. Like on this bottom part, like I needed to make the windowsill go away so that I could catch this one here. And we're going to fix that too, so that we don't end up with weird, like, disconnected borders. Okay, I think there's one more. Yeah. Nice. Okay, nice. So that came out pretty cool. So what we'll do here, so we don't end up with weird border issues that overlap where Evertus should be, because that can create some problems with the mesh itself. Say if I drag this into Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine's real touchy about meshes. It'll definitely pick up on any kind of mangled geometry, and it's a lot of times it can cause an error, like where you need to then go back anyway and replace that geometry. So I prefer to just, try to get everything right on the first go. Doesn't always happen, but you try. It surprisingly, since I've really definitely make an effort to do that, I always like my work to be clean. More often than not, my geometry turns out pretty good. It's one of the biggest hassles with stuff like this is if you say you made a bunch of meshes. Could be anything. Could be 5, 10, 50, whatever. That's a lot of time. That's a giant time investment and concentration and everything. And depending on what you're doing, it could be anything from a project for something you're doing professionally. It could be a project for school. It could be a project just maybe that you're doing, like a passion project or something. Anything. The 3D modeling and refinement, it's enormously time consuming. So, excuse me again. I'm gonna get something to drink too. Give me a second. Anyway, what I was saying was, if you try your best to make the meshes turn out right the first time. Give me a second. if you try to make your meshes turn out right the first time, or as best you can, it's a good practice habit to get into. So then, even if you have to repair some things, which you might have to do anyway, of course, a lot of those meshes you're going to get right on the first pass eventually. I've seen different examples of this where people do really well done geometry, and then I've seen horrible examples where geometry is just terribly done. So, really is... Oh, sorry, but it really is always a good idea to do nice, neat geometry rather than poorly done geometry, which is just extremely time-consuming to go back and fix. So, you know, doing it nice on the first pass, it's kind of like most things. You know, why not get it done right the first time if you can. So for that, the whole point of that is I'm going to create... I have to pick that different one. I'm going to create lines here. And we're just going to set this at 0.0. Oh. 0. Yeah. And then, in order to not leave overlapped geometry, I'm going to take these, weld them to these vertex points so that it's neat. So that the vertex points have a reference on all the axes. This one's behaving a little oddly. So that one was behaving a little unusual, so I'm going to do it this a different way. I'm going to stretch the geometry down and then manually weld it, all of the 4 points there. And then I can just fill this in with a cap. It was like I said in one of the previous videos, there's typically more than one way to do something if you run into a bit of an issue. And that's just practice. Okay, so let's see what we got going on here. That was a good example of this. If I zoom in nice and close, I don't know if it shows up really well, but there's an offness to the way this line is here. That's because they're not connected here. There's no geometry vertex right here for this line. But you'll see that fix when I connect this one here. Now it's a clean line. That's good. That's what we want. Same thing here. Beautiful. And then I need to also gotta think in terms of 3D, not just 2D. There's, there's all these different sides to something. So I also need to do it the same thing on the bottom there, because we would have the same kind of issue. Not that one. Yep. Okay, so that one, that's done. We'll do here now too. I was giving that same issue on the other side also. Same thing there. So I think the reason that it's doing that on some of these is because there isn't a perfect alignment when I did the extrusions. Because I did align them, but it's really, really fickle, like right down to the tiny, tiny fraction percents. So this will just clear that issue up, and then I could just cap these remaining parts, which is fine. But that's why that's doing that. I was just curious because I wanted to think, like, why is it doing that? I wanted to identify that issue, and I'm gonna have to get rid of those too. That was weird. There's one more of these right over here. Okay, yeah, we have that looking good now. It's kind of weird that it added that there. I'm not sure if that happened while I was was doing this part or maybe the previous part, because I had the windowsill covered up. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these. They don't need to be here. That might have been something I overlooked in one of the previous design sessions. But now that won't be an issue. Hey Cisco, how's it going? Okay, so we have something like that there now. I'm going to add a little bit of uniqueness to these. I'm going to use a different tool now. Non-uniform scale tool. So I'm only doing this across the flat of it. But wait, that might be a bad idea. Yeah, I want to change. So if I go to parent angle there. Okay, that's what I want. That's the one I want. So I do this here. If I go Z and Y, it'll just move it along the face axis with the parent coordinate system selected. And I'm doing this just to create a little bit, again, of like offset difference between some of them. So they're not all exactly uniform. And this one is different. So I'm going to say local. Yeah. This one's local. Like that. And I'm sorry, that was the X and Y, not X and Z. Like that. Okay, that's good. They're similar, but each one is done individually, so there are some differences. And let's think about how we want to do more of them. So I could do a little bit of the opposite here. But I'll do it to a smaller degree. I'll grab a few more of these. Like say that. And I'm going to indent these by extrude. I'm not going to do 5 though. I'm going to do 3.0 or minus 3.0 on the outside so that they're going in. And I'm going to find those on the reverse side. Here. I can do it an easier way. There. And there. 1, 2, 3, 5. Yep. And I'll just deselect since I already did those there on this side. I'll deselect them. And these ones, these will not be minus, these will be plus, these will be, you know, additive. Oop. Like that. Good. And then it'll be kind of like the similar to what I had done last time on fixing the kind of the changes there. Yeah, and this one as well. But let's also go to the top view. And look for hold on, let me go back here. Okay, so we did indent them. I kind of want to do the same thing as I did before with aligning them. But I can also do it a little bit on the inside of a different way. So I'll start with this one here. I'll go to that and do a similar thing. That. And I did a total of 5. This is 3 and 4. Now these two I believe are connected. So if I run into an issue, I can fix that without too much of a problem. Oh, okay, they didn't. That's cool. And why? Okay. Now it'll be fixing the same kind of issue that I had when I did the other side. So I'm doing the same thing here as I did on the previous ones, making sure that there's linked up vertices for the new geometry so that everything's nice and neat. I was doing the wrong thing. we got them all. Yep. 2, 3. Oh, nope. 4 and... Okay, this is the last one we didn't do yet. So that looks good. Let's do a file save. Save as. So we've done some there. Do a neat little test render here to see. And we end up with some surface differences than on the stone pieces. So they're not perfectly flat because in reality, you know, they're not going to be perfectly flat. They're going to have minor little differences and some that are more noticeable. So adding some surface changes give it more of a, if not always realistic, if you're not going for super realistic, that's fine, but it gives it more of an authenticness to it. And we can even make some other little changes here. We don't have to do everything. Excuse me. We don't have to do everything with these exactly the same. That's part of the whole idea of it, is to give it some kind of minor divergence qualities. Hey, give me a second. I'm just taking a sip of something. Now for some of these two, I can do a little bit of an insert. I might actually want to do... That's a good idea. Like that. Hey, how's it going? Excuse me. Sorry. I am definitely a little bit hoarse this morning. So, are you guys all having a good day? Yeah, I'm alright. Little bit tired today. But that's okay. Not a big deal. I kind of got I was watching an anime last night. It's a series that I recently picked up, so I may have ended up staying up a little bit late watching it because it was kind of at like a pretty epic part. That might have happened. Are you guys up to anything fun today? Oh yeah? You getting ready for sleep? That sounds really nice. I want to go back to sleep. I'm kidding, it's fine. Oh. Long night, huh? Well, sometimes a nice chill day is good. Hey, welcome to stream. I hope everybody's having a good morning, noon, or night, or, you know, whatever it is, wherever you are. A little bit of fun with these ones here. I'm going to make them like that, but I'm going to give them a little bit of... Wait a minute. Let me do that a little bit different. So I'm going to pick some of these at random. And I'm going to go like extrude. I'll do a little bit less than that. Well, maybe a bit more than that. There. And then I'll grab a few other ones. Like this. There. I kind of want to give a bit of a scattering feel with some of these. I'll go ahead and extrude those, but I'm going to make it a different height. I'll say that. And on a few of them, I'm going to go ahead and do kind of what I do with these. I'm going to use my select and non-uniform scale tool, but I'm going to switch to local for this, so that it's aligned with the face. And I'm just going to create a little bit of variation. And there's not that many of these, so, you know, I can afford to do that manually. It's just not a big deal. Ah, this one's parent, local, there. A little bit more. This one, I only want to do on X and Y, not Z. That. A little bit more. A little bit less. Somewhere between. And I'll do a test render when I go over the other faces here. It shouldn't take, it'll just take a minute to do these. That one a lot. Do this one less. This one. Just like that. That one like that. You won an auction? Oh, cool. What'd you get? Do one more. Yep. For a bone conduction headset to listen. Oh, okay. And calls? Oh, bone. I've not heard of a bone conduction headset. Is that like a brand? So if I unhide, let's see, we've got approach, pinnacle trim, and the windowsill there. So I'm just going to do like a little test render here. Ah, wait, one more. fun. Take a look at the difference here with this. It's a headset that you put on around your ears and back of your head. Tiny motors that vibrate your ears so you listen to stuff while keeping your ear canal free. Ah, okay. Wow, that's pretty fancy. Does it make a buzzing sound? Usually stuff that vibrates does that. And I'll take a look at the interior also here, because I made some variation changes in there. Doesn't have to be as pronounced as on the outside. So it has some variation, which is nice, but not too much. The outside would probably be a bit more rough too, since it's exposed to the elements. Yeah, so let's see. Oh. Nice. I can also do a little bit of this with the window sill if I wanted to. $8. See how. Oh yeah. Wow. That's pretty expensive. Minus 3.2. That one. Let's see. See if that. I may want to keep those similar. Well, I hope they turn out good. See how that looks. I like that. Okay, so I'll make a few more variations on the inside. It doesn't need to be as pronounced as on the outside, but I don't want it to look too flat. So I'll grab a few. Let me hide some of these other objects. Alright, that's not so bad. Excuse me. So I'm going to go on the outside first here. Create a little variation. And after that, I'll do another test render. It looks good. Yeah, it looks. I like that. this. I'll do this last bevel here, and oh, okay, one more. one more. Yeah, that one a little bit more dramatic. And let's see what we have here. A little close up, do a test render. Okay, we have some nice surface block variation. I like that. That turned out all right. And we also have some on the inside. Like that. Yeah, so I think that'll turn out, that'll look good for some of the towers. And let me go ahead and unhide some of the other pieces. The brooch, the pinnacle T1, pinnacle trim, and oh, not that one. Okay. And that's coming along nice. Got some surface variation details. Gives you character. Makes it seem more like a legitimate structure. And I kind of did my own little bit of stylization here for the design on the outside of the windowsill area. Like the way it looks. Kind of almost it kind of actually almost reminds me a little bit of like a steampunk feel. You know, it's kind of ornate. Like a little bit of going from medieval era into like the steampunk era with some kind of technological look. So that gives it a kind of a unique, interesting little bit of character. So that's not bad at all. Get a goes down view here. See how that looks. Make sure angles are coming out good. I want to make sure I want to check and see if I catch anything that I might have missed. Oh. Well, it seems no loose ends. Okay, and then I'll start on this other one. You know, keep a similar philosophy, but I'll make this unique too. These two walls, well, these two tower ramparts will be unique. Then they can be kit bashed, reused. Okay, let's get a test render here. See how that looks. Nice. Some variation, roughness to the surface. Can make a few of these a little different. Like I noticed these two seem kind of similar. I'm gonna go ahead and make a little bit more of a difference because I don't think they're actually exactly similar, but they're close. And this one too, like that. And it gives it a bit more surface variation. Okay, cool. And then I'll do, like I did on the other one, a little bit on the inside as well. And I'm definitely being deliberately random. Picking a few in like cluster, doing them. And then making a slight variation for like the next set. And let's see how that looks. here from the outside again. Not bad. Do file save. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do like kind of a clone of these. Oops. I'm going to do copy, not an instance or a ref. I'm just going to go ahead and do copy. Make sure my angle snap toggle is on. Oh, sorry, wrong pivot. And this is just to get an idea of, you know, how it might... It would obviously be made a little bit different than this, but, like, just to see what a couple of these kit bash pieces can do. And can already make kind of most part of it like a, you know, a tower with them. And I'll get rid of the duplicate pieces. Two. Okay, let me unhide Pinnacle Base. So with 8 object pieces, you can already put together a pretty significant part of a tower. And have, you know, a few variation pieces. Which is really definitely a time saver when creating meshes. And then when you add, you know, things like texturing, shaders, and stuff like that, it can add a significant amount of time onto anything. So this process really does cut out a lot of that extra unnecessary hassle of having to pour a bunch of time into creating too many multiples of something. So you go with the minimum, or create a few variations for some of the pieces so that it shows a little bit of variety. But yeah, it definitely, in the long run, it becomes a huge time saver. And I definitely wanted to make sure also that I kept my original pieces. I've noticed an issue with Unreal. Oh, wait a minute. That's not one of the originals. Oops. I have to go back here. Hold on. This is the original, isn't it? T1. Okay, yeah. Here are that one. That's T1. This was T3. This is a weird issue I've noticed with Unreal Engine. A lot of times it's extremely unfriendly towards mesh replicas. I'm not sure if it's been a persistent bug I've noticed in Unreal Engine 5 through across the different versions of the engine. I never encountered it in UE4. But say I made 2 of these. You know, not that there's a good reason to do that, and they're both copies. Say I just made 2 of them. If I import both of these into Unreal Engine, it's going to not like the geometry of the replica. At least that's been the case for me. I've never I think I've emailed them about it. I don't think I ever got any kind of a resolution or anything. It's just something weird I noticed, but it's not the only case where sometimes Unreal can be unfriendly towards meshes. Sometimes even when you don't make an error, or if you don't have some kind of a weird problem, the interpretation conversion from like from like the, in this case the 3ds file to the FBX file, sometimes it just doesn't like the mesh, even if there's nothing wrong with it. So it's really touchy about that sometimes. It's not something I've run to a whole lot, but when you start doing a lot of meshes and porting them over into the engine, it will happen. Sometimes for no rhyme or reason. So I'm definitely thinking about that as I'm doing these, because I know it's a thing I have wired into my thinking now, is making sure all my meshes are neat, just to avoid any potential issue when I go do a conversion over into the game engine. So it still could happen, but it is a much smaller percentage of possibility. And let me do it. Wait a minute. Oh no. Nope. Okay, it's there. Get us super close up. Not too bad. Now I'm starting to think about what I should eat today. I'm just gonna double check these. One brooch. D1. Okay, they're all the original pieces. So that is good. So yeah, I'm definitely getting a little bit of a steampunk vibe, kind of from the windowsill area. I think it's just the way some of the detail turned out. Some of that fits in pretty well with Gothic style. I've seen it in games, I've seen it in anime. Kind of like the beginning of the Industrial Revolution time period over in like Europe. So that's pretty good for today. I'll probably, unless something happens, I have it scheduled for 10 a.m. tomorrow as well. Unless something comes up, where I'll hop on here and I'll do the next part 7. So if you guys want to tune in then, you're welcome to. And I think I'm about ready to go get some lunch. So I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. And I hope you enjoyed the music too. This is, I posted it in the info before. The music collab I have with Reploid X. And this is Star Ocean 30th Anniversary SNES JRPG music collection there. He does really good music remixes. Pretty cool for this kind of stream, you know. So it's not like dead quiet. You know, there's a little bit of BGM, and other than that, I hope you guys have a great day or night or whatever it is wherever you are. And thanks for tuning in. Please feel free to follow, and I'm going to be doing more 3D design streams, and I'm going to continue this series of Nox Arcanium, and right now it's the Tower of Ravens. We're starting with that structure, and we'll move on to other ones after. So have a great day, and oh, my schedule, if you're interested, is posted on here, so feel free to check it out, and have a great day, guys. Bye-bye. Yeah, I'm gonna go get some food. My stomach started growling at me. And thanks for tuning in. You guys have a good day. I'll catch you later.